Let's do it. Let's jump into it. Waste no more time. Appreciate everybody jumping in here. If you would, hit that like button for us on your way in. Spin the laces on that tater for us, all right? If you don't mind. We would greatly, greatly appreciate that. So, Ron Sample says, my question, who all will Hafley take with him? It's a great question. Now, the beautiful thing about this, Ron, is we can block him from taking our top pick for defensive coordinator if you promote from within. And to me, we're going to talk about all of it. It sounds like that would be DeMarcus Covington, at least how it sits here today. So if we took DeMarcus Covington, there's a good chance I think Hafley could go and take our boy Derek Ansley as his defensive coordinator, right? Also, remember, he loves Coach Ogabasi. Ogabasi was with him at Boston College. He brought him to Green Bay. Maybe that would be his top pick, right? Who knows? But I know some fans are kind of holding out hope. Well, Hafley liked it in Green Bay. Maybe he won't just completely strip the organization down. No, you know how this goes, man. You're gonna bring in any and everybody you possibly can to be your assistant, and no hard feelings. That's just the way that everything works. So here are the tweets. All right. Here is the latest news. Adam Schefter tweeted out the Miami Dolphins are setting up in-person head coaching interviews for early this week, including Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, which will be his second interview with the team per sources. It's also important to understand that the first interview they had was a virtual interview. So now he's going in-house to meet with them. And we know now, I think it was, what's his name? Can't think of his name. Garofalo over on NFL Network said that he crushed this interview, the first interview. Garofalo also said, and it is worth noting, the Packers have already done diligent work behind the scenes to replace Hafley as well, for whatever that's worth. Okay, so this came out. He gets the second interview. We knew the betting odds were always in Hafley's favor. I was holding out a little bit of hope that maybe they would fall in love with another candidate, because Hafley, if he didn't get the Dolphins job, it sounded like he was not the favorite to get the job anywhere else, right? Or not even in the top 3 favorite to get the job anywhere else. Tom Pelissero kind of reconfirming. They just posted a video saying that what I just told you guys about the interview. And, of course, he just said Packers DC Jeff Hafley has emerged as a front runner for the Dolphins head coaching job per sources. No final decisions made. More interviews are scheduled. 4 other teams have requested second interviews with Hafley, but he appears to be a leading candidate in Miami. So the fact that you see 4 other teams here, Jacob, that have requested a second interview with him, Miami probably going to have to make a decision real quick. So I imagine Jeff Hafley will crush the second interview in person, and he will be announced as the next head coach down there, will be my guess. And, of course, just a quick look at the Kalshi odds here. Jeff Hafley is now up to 76% chance of being the next Dolphins head coach. Chris Shula is sitting at 11%. So, Jacob, what's your thoughts on that? Anything look different to you before we dive into some of the potential replacements for Jeff Hafley?
No, I mean, this is kind of the type of thing that we expected. Jeff Hafley, we've talked about it throughout the season, how the guy just has a personality around him where it feels like the type of coach that players want to gravitate to. We watched him specifically. What I loved is when I watched him do press conferences, he would kind of, he has that tongue in cheek kind of like coach speak kind of, communication, but he also would actually answer questions, and he would seemingly do like a really good job of deep diving as to why he's explaining what he's explaining. And it's the same kind of thing that people kind of highlighted, that what he does well as a coach is he's not just a coach, he's a teacher, right? And I think that a lot of the NFL elite that are looking to replace a current head coach wants a guy that can come into their organization and actually coach young men, and not just like do this, do that, but explain. What's the why? Why are we doing this? And I think that Jeff Hafley has a unique ability to do that. That's been seen, like you said, from Boston College now into his NFL career. And I think that a lot of NFL organizations are looking for a type of player, type coach, where it's like you can get them motivated because they believe in you. What's the quote you always say, Clayton, is that players don't care what you believe until they know that you
don't eat where you crap, don't crap where you eat, the smell is bad. Now, I always say, I mean, there's a bunch of different lines I've read throughout books, throughout, history written on football, but the one that sticks out to me is people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Right. And I feel like that people really believe that Jeff Hafley cares about them. Like if any coaching staff that's ever been with him, every player that's ever been underneath him. I mean, you look at what Micah said. Micah wanted him to be here for sure. Put that on record. You know, it's tough to think that, you know, I could actually probably push back and say that, you know, Jeff Hafley wasn't exactly the type of coach that we thought he would be as far as the results-based driven stuff comes up from this last year. But I still think that he's done enough, and he's kind of put a splash into the NFL waters to the point where people are willing to take a chance on him. And forgive me, because is it John, who's the Sullivan? Is it John Michael Sullivan or
Jon-Eric Sullivan?
Jon-Eric. It's the country singer.
It's a weird name, and to have that many, you know, 3 names like that. I don't know.
But the fact that just he's over there, and then all of a sudden there shows a lot of interest in Hafley, it just seems as if that Malik Willis is almost destined to go over there. I mean, how crazy would that? We'd basically call that Green Bay 2.0 in the South, right? Like Green Bay 2.0 on the ocean. And that's a crazy thing to think about. But it does kind of seem like the puzzle pieces are starting to fit together, though, a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be a little bit distracted as my Kentucky Wildcats are trying to knock out the Tennessee Vols here in a basketball game. I'm not a big basketball fan, but anytime you get a little bit of bragging rights down here on the home front, it helps. So, and we're getting closer. Anyway, okay, Mike went with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. Happy Saturday, guys. If we do lose Hafley, who would be your guys' the preferred new DC? My dream would be Flores, but more realistic, I'd love Raheem Morris. All right, so Jacob, I'll let you answer that first. I think everybody knows what my answer is, but you go first, and then I'll respond.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest,
and just so you know, Jacob, we're gonna run through a list of guys so you can get a kind of a more educated guess here in a minute. I'm just saying, do you have anybody at the forefront that comes to mind for you?
No, I mean, honestly, those two are kind of probably the ones that are at the top of mind. Brian Flores has just absolutely been incredible wherever he went, as far as just kind of making the defenses play better than what they are on paper. The biggest thing for me is that, you know, there has been some issues with him kind of just stirring the pot, and we won't get into necessarily exactly why, but, you know, B-Flow has got a little bit of a reputation behind him where he's not necessarily a team guy, but he does know how to get the most out of his players. So that'd be interesting to see how he could take a guy like Micah, maybe take some guys like Wyatt when he's healthy, Coop, you know, Xavier, Evan, a bunch of these guys, and just absolutely take them to the peak of what their pinnacle could be as those types of players. Raheem Morris obviously makes a lot of sense just because of his ties to Matt LaFleur. And if LaFleur obviously is going to be coming back, which I hope that is the case, you know, that makes a lot more sense to me. If I had to just pick a random name out of a hat that would never even happen, but if I could just, like, if I'm playing Madden and I pick my guy, I just want John Gruden around somewhere. I just want him just being like, here's the deal. You know what I mean? I just want him somewhere doing stuff. I know it's never going to happen. I'm just like, it just is so fun to think about. Like, what would it be if you had Matt LaFleur on offense and the Grudster on defense, bro? Like, it'd just be fun.
And obviously Gruden has an offensive background, but anytime you've had that much head coaching experience, you'd think you could probably do both. The thing about Gruden is, I think you hit the nail on the head here, man. He's an exciting option, right, at any coaching position. I don't care what the position is, because he's so exciting, right? It's just like, man, he gets everything so amped up, right? And the thing is, the reality, if I remember correctly, his winning percentage is barely over 500. So, we got a fight breaking out. It's a final. Kentucky wins 80-78, and there's a fight breaking out. This is the most glorious thing that could have. It's the perfect ending. We won, and we get to see fisticuffs. This is unbelievable. So Nick McSwain says, I personally don't want an inside hire for DC. I'm also stupid, though. Well, if you're stupid, you're in the right place. You're amongst friends here. You're amongst other stupid people. Now, I understand what you're saying, Nick. Like, the thing that's giving me a little bit of hope on DeMarcus Covington is he's starting to drum up some interest, right? And we're going to talk about the top veteran candidates and current DCs, and you're going, well, you can't make a lateral move, Clayton. Correct. But, you know, if one of these coaches like Brian Flores, we keep mentioning him because he's not technically under contract, right? Which means he's a free agent. He can sign anywhere. Now, you're going to get into a bidding war with Minnesota and other teams, I'm sure. He's also the favorite to get a head coaching job in 3 different spots as well. So there's a chance that he could be a head coach and off the market. So for me, answering Mike Witt's question, it would and thank you for the super chat, Mike. Appreciate you, man. For me, it would definitely be Brian Flores. That would be at the top. Now, if Robert Saleh's available, would you know, they had a lot of injuries, but their defense was cheeks. And going back to Nick McSwain, I don't want to say cheeks, but they wasn't my upper echelon defense, if I remember correctly. We're going to look at those numbers in a second, too. Back to what Nick McSwain said, this defense struggled down the stretch for Green Bay, man. Ever since Micah left, the wheels didn't just fall off. They literally passed you up. Even with all that being said, if you looked at where the Packers defense ranked at the end of the year, it was still pretty good, even though those last 5 or 6 weeks were so bad in terms of scoring defense. So here are some of the top candidates. All right. 3 established names are the heavy hitters in the current cycle. Some are interviewing for current head coaching jobs, while others are prime targets for teams looking for overhaul in their defense. Jesse Minter from the LA Chargers, okay? After a dominant run at Michigan and a strong showing with the Chargers, Minter is arguably the hottest name in the defensive side. He is currently being interviewed for multiple head coaching roles, the Raiders, the Falcons, and other people, okay? Brian Flores, we just mentioned. Despite past controversies, Flores has completely rehabilitated his stock. You guys know it ended kind of bad in Miami. Whether it was his fault, the owner's fault, whoever, it was a bad look for sure. His aggressive, versatile scheme in Minnesota has teams looking at him for both head coach and DC positions. He played his stock perfect. Getting head coaching offers and being a free agent, he's probably going to be the highest paid defensive coordinator this year, I would imagine, if he does not get a head coaching job, which he probably will. Jeff Hafley, you know all about. Vance Joseph with the Denver Broncos, a veteran with head coach experience who has kept the Broncos defense competitive against elite offensive minds like Shanahan, Sean McVay, etc. Obviously, I think he's still under contract, though, Jacob, as a defensive coordinator in Denver. He's getting head coaching offers, or not offers, but interviews. So that's one along with Robert Saleh that probably can't make that lateral move happen, right? There would have to be some really, really funky stuff go down for you to be able to make that lateral move happen. If you're wondering what that means, guys, it's real simple. You cannot hire someone else's coordinator laterally. It has to be an elevation. Now, there's been some people that says you can make them assistant head coach, and that's technically an elevation. Others said no, it's not. I don't think we've actually seen a situation where a guy went somewhat laterally but became the assistant head coach, and that's how a team was able to get around that, because most of the time, if they're that valuable, the current team would just promote them to assistant head coach. So it's kind of rare that even takes place. Here are some of the next-gen candidates, okay? All my Wisconsin Badger fans are going to get real excited right now, okay? Here we go. Jim Leonhard. You heard that name before, right? Broncos pass game coordinator, highly respected from Wisconsin, D.C., viewed as a future star. Obviously, Jim Leonhard, he was offered – I want to say he was offered the job. No, he wasn't offered the job. He was one of the top candidates for Matt LaFleur in a previous cycle, all right? So keep in mind him, passing game coordinator in Denver, which they played so well, right? Zach Orr, Ravens defensive coordinator. So that whole staff gets let go. Now, they could hire him back as the head coach. Who knows? I don't think they want to. He's only 33 years old. He's one of the youngest coordinators and being interviewed by Dallas. Keep in mind, Zach Orr was one of our top choices last time when we picked Hafley. Remember, Jacob? Zach Orr kept popping up. Yeah. DeMarcus Covington, the Packers defensive line coach, former Patriots assistant with DC experience, high upside candidate. He seems to be the one in-house that's getting the most attention in terms of Packer coaches. I cannot say that first name there, so we'll just say Banda, the Browns safeties coach, key part of the Cleveland secondary that was one of the NFL's best in 2025. Obviously, they had a solid defense, horrible offense. There's a chance that their defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, ends up getting the head coaching job there. Chris Harris, Jets defensive back coach, interim DC. Remember, he was on the short list for the Packers before, too. He finished the 2025 season. Colin plays for the Jets and is a strong internal candidate there. And then, Arajo, if I'm saying that right, the Dolphins cornerback coach, a fast riser in the Miami system who has helped lead a top 5 defensive unit as well. So those are some of the kind of next-gen candidates, Jacob. Is anybody there? I'm going to put your feet to the fire here. Along with Raheem Morris, I just did a quick write-up on him. We'll talk about him in a little more detail in a second. Along with Raheem Morris, if you had to pick one of these guys, you have to pick from this list, who would be your top choice for your next defensive coordinator?
Man, to be honest, I mean, I like the idea of Jim Leonhard, but I just feel like that he doesn't have necessarily like kind of the track record in the NFL. Like, you know, he's been there with the Broncos and all that. And if I had my druthers, I think I'd pick DeMarcus Covington just because he's familiar with our guys. Kind of understands what the locker room feels like. That's maybe what I would prefer, but I don't think that that's honestly going to happen as well. Because of like, if Hafley goes, I just feel like that he's going to be able to pick quite a few guys that are going to just, I don't want to say tag along, because that seems like a negative connotation there. I just mean that like people believe in Hafley for a reason. So if a lot of his guys that he's kind of brought up and been coaching with and had experience with, I feel like they're going to follow what they think is a leader. And I think that he is a leader of men. And, but none of those really like pop off the page to me. The Jim Leonard thing is intriguing for sure, but it is surprising that he didn't want to come. Was it that he didn't want to come, or that he just basically chose at the time? Was it he chose to be with the Badgers again? Is that what it was?
Here's what I heard is the reason that he turned down the Packers job is there was rumors that Mike Pettin, if you guys don't know, Mike Pettin and Jim Leonard are kind of close. And when Mike Pettin left Green Bay, him and Matt LaFleur really butted heads big time, okay, when he left. Now, anyone who wants to perform revisionist history and try to blame Matt LaFleur for Mike Pettin leaving, I remember the fire Mike Pettin crew, okay? Yeah. So let's not sit here and now all of a sudden pretend like Mike Pettin was a dominant defensive coordinator. It just wasn't the case. So when Matt offered Jim Leonard the job, if he did indeed offer it, and again, all this is just kind of rumor speculation, that Mike Pettin probably stepped in, which is kind of a mentor to Jim Leonard. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know how much is true. You guys do your own research, as we always say here. So I think that's what happened there. Now, Raheem Morris, Jacob, this is an interesting one. Raheem Morris, in this cycle, his status recently changed after 2 seasons as a head coach at Atlanta Falcons. The team officially parted ways with him on January 4th, 2026. Following an 8-9 finish. While he was fired as head coach, his reputation as a defensive mind remains high, making him a major factor in the current hiring cycle. Head coaching interviews. He has got head coaching interviews despite the exit in Atlanta. Looks like the New York Giants. He's scheduled to interview with the Cardinals and the Titans as well. A defensive coordinator option. If he does not land a head coaching gig, he is considered a home run hire for a DC opening. Specifically, the Minnesota Vikings has emerged as a strong potential fit if their current DC, Brian Flores, leaves. So if Brian Flores gets a head coaching job somewhere, all of a sudden, Raheem Morris is going to skyrocket to the top of one of the top defensive coordinator spots, if that makes sense. A potential media pivot.
Interesting comment here from Gat X Boy. He says, y'all done want Raheem Morris, and this is coming from a Falcons fan.
Yeah, and this is the thing, too, and appreciate you tuning in, man. And I'm not saying you're right and we're wrong. People said the same thing about Jeff Hafley coming from BC because he didn't have success as a head coach. Some guy. Well, look at this. The New England Patriots are going to play, I think a little later here today, right? I don't know what time they kick off. Josh McDaniels was a laughing stock of the league. He had 2 stints as a head coach, and he was horrible in both places, got fired real quick. He goes back to New England as the offensive coordinator, and he torches it, right? Like he's just on fire again. He's got Drake May playing MVP caliber football. So some guys are just – I believe some guys are just meant to be coordinators as opposed to head coaches, right? And that's definitely